Aston Martin has been making big moves everywhere in the past few months, and even though we can't see it helping their racing right now, it looks like they're thinking about the long future, especially from 2025 and after. Newey will very likely sign a contract that would put him doing the opposite of what he said before, which was taking a more relaxed job in the team. Could we see Aston Martin fighting to win championships starting in 2026? And more importantly, will Verstappen continue the pattern of people leaving Red Bull and join up with his old friends Newey and Honda? Adrian Newey has been one of the most important engineers at Red Bull for the past 18 years. That's why all the other teams got really excited when he said he was available after he stepped down from his job at the Austrian team. But out of all the teams racing, two have come forward as possible places for him to go: Aston Martin and Ferrari. Ferrari now seems further away compared to the team based in Silverstone when it comes to signing the man who helped Red Bull get such a big advantage under the new rules that started in 2022. But anyway, Newey isn't the only person Aston Martin wants. They're also trying to get Verstappen starting from 2026. If we look at the money numbers they've offered to the British mastermind, which are around $100 million per year for 4 years, it's safe to say that his job will be super important, and he'll have a bigger say in who goes where. Especially with Enrico Cardal coming from Ferrari and Don Fallows likely leaving or getting a smaller job under Newey, the team will look completely different. And with some familiar faces from Honda joining them from 2026, it will be really interesting to see if this would be enough for Verstappen to actually join. But there are lots of things that matter here, like Verstappen leaving Red Bull in the first place and Aston Martin being his first choice in the second place. First, Verstappen has already promised his loyalty to Red Bull again, which could mean nothing since Red Bull is slowly but surely losing people everywhere, and with how they handle the whole Perez situation, it could very well mean that Max doesn't trust the team enough to push in the right direction. Obviously, now that he's changed how he thinks and now says there's no more speed to be found from the car, but you have to get everything you can from what you have right now. It's a clear sign that the RB20 car is going to stay as it is. Upgrades probably won't give nearly as much speed as the team hoped for. Even though Verstappen is clearly ahead to win the championship for drivers, there's still worry if the bad performances continue and drivers like Norris or Hamilton speed up in the last 10 races. But even without this, the team championship will probably be lost to McLaren, with Mercedes also becoming a serious challenger to knock Red Bull out of the top 2 spots. These are all situations that can and will affect Max's decision about where he'll be racing in the near future. And obviously, with all the talks that have been happening around him and Mercedes, we can't pretend like the Silver Arrows have dropped out of the running just because Aston Martin made a big money offer. But if he chooses Aston Martin, he gets something that he wouldn't have at Mercedes, a teammate who won't be able to challenge him for the Drivers' Championship. Even though Max would probably beat Russell in the same car, the challenge would be much bigger and something that he wouldn't even want to deal with. If Aston Martin can build a car that could win races from 2026 onwards, the new rules that will happen from this season are literally anyone's guess about who will end up where. And if we look at what's happening right now, Verstappen should expect very tight competition in 2025 as well, not just because of Hamilton's move to Ferrari, but also because of the huge improvements that McLaren and Mercedes made in the past few months. And with Red Bull unable to find fixes to their problems, it's a very real reason for Verstappen to leave the Austrian team and look for a place that would be better for his driving skills. But anyway, there's another situation where Verstappen could end up in a competitive team like Aston Martin, not with Lance Stroll as his teammate, but Fernando Alonso. We all know that the money Lawrence Stroll is currently spending heavily is mainly focused on his son, Lance Stroll, who is one of the biggest disappointments when it comes to how well he drives compared to his teammate Alonso. Yeah, the last few races don't count because the car has been really bad, and Alonso has been pretty vocal about solutions that need to be found. But a man like Lawrence knows and understands that in this sport, it's not as easy as it looks. It takes time. And in this particular situation, Alonso would have to be patient. But as far as Lance goes, it seems like he has all the time in the world because his father protects him. Now, if a situation opens up that Aston Martin is willing to sign Verstappen from 2026 onwards, or more precisely, if the three-time world champion is now ready to leave Red Bull and join another team, there are certain sacrifices that the team and all the investors would be willing to make. That would be to keep Alonso as their driver and move Lance to another category of Aston Martin's racing competitions, like the WEC. This will be a hard choice for Lawrence to make, given the fact that no other competition is anywhere close to Formula One when it comes to popularity, elite driving, and competition. But if you have a one-man show after spending millions of dollars on Formula One, then you are definitely doing something wrong and you need to fix it before you make the investors in the team angry again. A lot of strings would have to be pulled for Lawrence to have the uncomfortable talk with his son that a potentially four-time world champion would be replacing him, as he has to think of what's best for the team. But a situation that strangely protects Lance is the fact that a duo of Verstappen and Alonso, while looking good on paper, may not actually be the best option for the team. This is because both are alpha males and both will be looking to fight each other extremely hard every single weekend. Even though Lawrence is the main man that needs to be happy with the progress that Aston Martin has yet to make, he's been selling small parts of the team to other companies like Arctos. This means that there are more than one side now involved in this whole story, and simply put, these sides will look at both championships as equally important and wouldn't want to enter the race weekend, knowing that there will be only one driver who can fight for the win. If the regulations bring the teams to much closer competition than we'd originally think, then what every team would desperately need is two strong performing drivers, similar to what McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari have right now. On the other hand, Red Bull has been bleeding in this area thanks to Sergio Perez's poor performance. And if it wasn't for the complete dominance that they had in the first 5 races, then the Austrian team would have probably been gone from the number 1 spot in the Constructor Championship by now. All of the current situations need to be looked at properly, because if you are a driver like Verstappen who is unhappy with your team's performance, then the next team would definitely have to prove that they have what it takes in order to put themselves on the right path. Right now, Aston Martin is definitely not that team, which is why Mercedes still has an advantage over getting Verstappen's signature if he's going to leave Red Bull. But with all of the changes that are being made in the Silverstone-based team, and with all the familiar faces that Verstappen will meet if Newey completes the contract and Honda comes from 2026 onwards, it would be hard to say no to an offer from your old colleague, the ones that made the 2022 and 2023 success possible. I'm not saying it was all Adrian Newey in this regard, but ever since he left the team and pointed out the mistakes that the engineers didn't want to fix or listen to, we have started to see Red Bull falling down. They're admitting that the upgrades are not working. In a similar way to this, everything that Dan Fallows learned from him and brought to Aston Martin has disappeared the moment that he had to make decisions on his own. With all this in mind, do you think that Newey and Verstappen are ready to go to Aston Martin? And if so, do you think that they are the missing pieces to the Silverstone-based team when it comes to fighting for the championship in both categories? Let us know down in the comments below, and once you've done that, have a look at the video that's appearing on your screen right now.